Hey gang, Mark Sweeney here from Austin Dental Spa in beautiful Austin, Texas. It's Wisdom Wednesday time. So it must be Wednesday and it must be the end of the day because that's usually our parameters for shooting Wisdom Wednesday. If you're tuning in for the first time, we take about 10 minutes to brighten your day, tell you a little bit about things that can be helpful to your lifestyle or to your dental health. And today's no different. We're actually going to cover, can where you live influence your life expectancy? And got some really interesting stuff. It came from the United Kingdom, but they studied people who lived near pubs, bars, and fast food restaurants. We'll get to that in just a second. Every month we've got a theme, and this month, the theme in February, this is our last Wisdom Wednesday of February, it was love rules. And we had a play on words with that there were love rules, like rules of love, and there were love rules, like love rules. So we did a little bit on both of those. If you want to see some of our previous Wisdom Wednesdays, we've archived them on our YouTube channel, austindentalspa.com, and we've also archived them on our Facebook page. So you can go back if you like what you see and cover some of the other topics that we've covered, which we've been all over the board. But now let's get back to, can where you live actually predict your life expectancy? Well, like I've said, in England and some fairly rural part of England, it wasn't in London, but they came up with a brand new study. They studied over several years 500,000 people. That's 500,000 people that were in this study, and they measured their closeness to three different types of food. Pubs or bars, because over there we call them bars, they call them pubs, same place. Restaurants where you can sit down and get served food, and fast food restaurants like Wendy's, McDonald's, because yes, they do have those over in the United Kingdom. And so the individual distance, they said it has to be within 15 minutes walking distance or a half a mile. So those were their parameters. Now, during those 500,000, 500,000 people that they studied, there were 13,000 heart failures. Now, how do we describe a heart failure? It's not just limited to heart attack. A heart failure means your heart muscle can't pump enough blood through your system to adequately supply all the different parts of your body. So it could include an ischemic stroke where a blood clot blocks the flow of blood through to the brain, and the heart can't pump enough blood to keep your brain your circulation in your brain flowing, so parts of your brain die. It could include a heart attack, which is typically fatal over the age of 50 years old. But anyway, they did 12-year follow-up on these people, so it was a pretty in-depth study. It just got reported last month in the Journal of Heart Medicine or something, or Heart Failures. Anyway, I thought this was really interesting stuff. Out of this 500,000 people over a 12-year period, they found that people who live close to ready-to-eat food outlets, which not the fast food places, but the restaurants, 16% greater risk of heart failure. 16%. That's 1 in 5 is 20%. So that's somewhere between 1 in 5 and 1 in 6. Those in the highest density areas where pubs and restaurants and bars showed a 14% increase. So again, it's double digits. Those in the highest density areas for fast food outlets, 12% higher risk. And people who live closest to pubs and bars where it was more about drinking than about food, 13% higher risk of heart failure. So I thought that was just astounding to me. All of them were in double digits. They also found that people who live close to the fast food outlets had a 10% higher risk compared with those who live further away. So therefore, they shopped at the supermarket, took their food home, and cooked it, or were much more likely to because it wasn't as easily accessible. And last of all, I thought this was interesting too. Sorry, the mold in the air from it getting cold and then warm and then cold and then warm again. Nothing affects me except mold in the air, but boy, is it out today. Last of all, heart failure risk was stronger among participants without a college degree and adults in urban areas without access to some kind of physical fitness facility like a gym or a park where they could go play tennis or shoot baskets or something. So I thought that was just fascinating that they could tie that to educational level as well as to proximity to bars, restaurants, and fast food places. So take that for what it's worth. We figured on Wisdom Wednesday, we can't just leave you with this downer kind of information. We have to cover the other side of the coin. We just gave you the yang. Now we'll give you the yin. Forbes magazine just came out in early 2024 with the 3 healthiest, most popular diets. The 3 diets that are, and they hired nutrition experts to come up with this. And here are the top 3 diets for heart health. Since we talked about what's not good for your heart, the Mediterranean diet. You've all probably heard of the Mediterranean diet. It's like if you lived in Greece or Italy. Lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, legumes, whole grains, leafy vegetables, lean animal protein, extra virgin olive oil, and nuts. That's basically the Mediterranean diet. If you go to any Greek restaurant, you're going to find a lot of that kind of stuff. And so it didn't say anything about cheeses, but one study found that people who followed the Mediterranean diet closely had a 50 to 70% lower chance of recurring heart disease and lower cholesterol as well. So I eat Greek salads 2 or 3 times a week at lunch, and I love them. But if you haven't tried that, you should look into the Mediterranean diet. It's the number 1 on the list. Number 2 is the DASH diet, which stands DASH, which stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. I think it's actually came out with the American Heart Association or something. Anyway, the DASH diet is rich in potassium, calcium, and magnesium, so it focuses more on the building blocks to amino acids and hormones and stuff. But again, it focuses on vegetables, fruits, and whole grains, includes fat-free and low-fat dairy products, fish, poultry, beans, and nuts. No red meat. So, their focus is more on the elements that are involved in those foods, whereas the Mediterranean diet is more about the foods themselves. And Mediterranean diets taste great. If you've never eaten Greek food or if it's been a while, do yourself a favor and go eat some Mediterranean food. Number 3, the Ornish diet. Dr. Dean Ornish was an MD who was very involved in weight control. And I forget how long ago it was, but he came out with this diet that's mostly plant-based, which turns a lot of people off. But plant-based foods, of course, the fruits and vegetables, that's common to all 3 of the popular diets. Whole grains, but he introduced soy also as an alternative to meat products for getting your protein. Some studies suggest that this diet can lead to a regression of coronary heart disease, lower the systolic and diastolic blood pressure, and improve the LDL, which is the bad cholesterol. They're HDL and LDL. So all 3 of these diets basically are made up of fruits and vegetables, healthy foods, but they're all 3 a little bit different. So for what it's worth, that's coming straight from Forbes magazine, who hired nutritionists to give them the top 3 heart-healthy diets of 2024. So my advice, segued on to that, is go out and get some exercise, because these diets tell you about what you can put in your mouth, but they don't talk about calorie burn. And you know, there's an old adage that you can't work your way out of a bad diet. So diet is important, but diet by itself doesn't give you a healthy body. You got to get out and do at least 20-30 minutes of even just walking around the neighborhood, especially with the sun starting to come out, spring starting to happen. Get out and get active and have a healthier life and a healthier body. Next week we'll be into March. I'll introduce the new theme for the month of March, and we will see you again for another version of Wisdom Wednesday.